with that, I'm going to read the resolution that's before us for Portland-Milwaukie Light Rail, and then I'll take testimony to those that signed up to present to the board prior to our consideration of the resolution. Resolution 10-1157, adopting an implementation statement for the Portland-Milwaukie Light Rail project. So to speak to this, I'm going to take them in the order they signed up.
Mr. President, if I could just make perhaps...
Sure, comments? Sure.
Yeah, if I could also ask Dan Blocker to come up, and we'll do a little short presentation.
There was no note on my agenda.
See.
Thanks, Dan.
And if I could just note, again, apologize, trying to do two things at once here, but it's hard enough for me to do one at once. I would just note that the reason that we wanted to bring this resolution to you is that implementing a project like Portland-Milwaukie is obviously a very complex and a very big endeavor. What we wanted to do is have a place where the board could focus on, if you will, the policy direction related to implementing the project, and where we could offer you a chance to really focus the deliberation on advancing the project, distinct from all the difficult and complex business transactions that we'll be considering in the future. So again, it's a hope that we can begin to, you can deliberate on the notion of advancing the project and how it fits into your overall priorities, and then we can begin to frame our business transactions to be responsive to that over a period of time. To begin sort of a short presentation on the project itself, I'd like to introduce Dan Blocker, our executive for capital projects again.
Dan.
Welcome. Good morning, Board President Van Beveren and members of the board. It's a pleasure to speak to you today to summarize a few key points about the Portland-Milwaukie Light Rail project. Before you take action on the resolution before you, I want to briefly discuss three key aspects of this project. First, its benefits, then its financing plan, and then its current state of readiness. In previous briefings, we've discussed the overall arc of this project. Since its inception in 2003, the project has followed a very structured and defined process defined by FTA and regional decision-making to come to the project as it exists today. We are currently in year 7 of this overall arc, now poised to begin design and construction. Through this highly collaborative planning process, we've developed a project that will provide the best blend of benefits, considering a whole host of parameters. We've studied various modes and alignments. We've refined the scope of work to arrive at the best choice for TriMet, its partners, stakeholders, and the public. The staff report provides a long list of benefits of this project, but among a few key ones I'd like to highlight, first of all, it provides clean and efficient high-capacity transit service, providing 25,000 daily rides to serve this fast-growing corridor, which is expected to have increases of 54,000 households and 100,000 jobs by 2030. The project also includes extensive improvements in bus, roadway, freight, and active transportation uses. It promotes livable communities and support for vital redevelopment aspirations along the corridor, such as what you just heard about from OHSU. And it brings extensive economic benefits to our region as well, helping to create up to 14,000 jobs and generating up to $573 million in personal earnings. These benefits are the reason the project is so strongly supported by so many regional decision makers, including the ones you've heard here today, and in other meetings in some of our recent briefings. This is not only a TriMet project, but it's a collection of community projects, and it's a full regional project. Next, I'd like to stress the very solid funding arrangements assembled for this project. As you know, we've recently performed what we termed a recalibration of the project to bring the funding and cost into balance for a 50% federal share. This recalibration effort was a clear indication of the very strong support that this project enjoys. When the project needed to come up with additional funding to make up a shortfall, the regional partners made clear their continuing support in the strongest and most tangible way possible by providing additional funding. In the challenging economic times we're in, that was not an easy thing to do. But our local partners have been with us at the design table all along, and when asked to step up to close the funding gap, they did so, collectively and unanimously. ODOT, City of Portland, Metro, all committed significant funding increases to keep the project moving on schedule, to bring these key benefits, but also to avoid unnecessary cost increases from delay. So today our recalibrated project is being reviewed by FTA for entry into final design. And while we have a small, approximately 2% share of local funding yet to be determined, the amount of committed funding is far in excess of that mandated by FTA to proceed into final design. We're very confident of our ability to find the remaining 2%. In short, the funding is robust. Furthermore, local, regional, and federal funds contributing to this project are dedicated to this rail construction. And the biggest share, the $745 million of discretionary federal funds, will simply be lost to another region if we don't use them here. TriMet's share of the cost to build and operate the line is also already programmed and covered through existing payroll tax receipts. Now currently, there are no TriMet funds paying for work on this project, and none are anticipated until fiscal year 2013. So while the agency has had to make cuts in its budget over the past 2 years, the Portland-Milwaukie project is not impacting the budget at this time. Operationally, Portland-Milwaukie will be a very effective line. Light rail transit currently costs us about $1.89 per ride. Portland-Milwaukie, with its high ridership, is expected to cost about $1.50. Now, it's much cheaper and more reliable than bus service, which compares at $3.21 per ride. So the efficiency of rail helps free up funds for bus service. And it supports the efficient growth of the total transit system, making all these modes complement each other and work together. Lastly, I'd like to highlight the state of readiness the project has achieved. The Portland-Milwaukie project is poised to begin construction late this year. Preliminary engineering is complete. Final design approval, the key step to go into federal funding, is expected early next year. FTA authority to begin work on the bridge is expected in December of this year. Management of key risks and determination of our contingency levels are sound, and they meet FTA's very stringent requirements. A highly seasoned and very dedicated TriMet management team with extensive experience on past TriMet projects is assembled and ready to go. We are in a superb market for construction with excellent labor ability and very competitive commodities and construction pricing. And we've already begun selection of our designers and contractors, and we've had excellent market response on the contracts we've put out for proposals so far. So we've done what we must to position the project for success. It's now time to proceed. We must begin construction in December to maintain our project schedule. If we wait, we could lose a year due to in-water work constraints. We could incur significant cost increases. We could potentially disrupt these regional agreements, and we could jeopardize our federal funding. So we recommend you approve the resolution to advance the project on its current schedule. With that, I'll pause and give you the opportunity for questions.
Questions?
Okay. Yeah, Dan, you have a good report. As you're aware, I've been apprehensive of the Milwaukie light rail line. Meeting with Neil and his staff and you, I'm becoming convinced that the positives outweigh the negatives of doing this. But I think it's important that we got to keep the confidence of the public with us. Some way we've got to restore the cuts on the buses. we're a service organization. I mean, our company or whatever TriMet wants to be labeled as, but the main function is to service the public. And some way we got to get your message that you just got out to the public so they know that the positives outweigh the negatives. I think there's a number of jobs that will be created that'll be a tremendous boost to the economy here, right here in Oregon, and bringing in these federal dollars is very important. So I'm going to vote in favor of it because there is 98% committed to it, and I think the positives far outweigh the negatives. But I thank you for it. And if you wanted to comment back on the restoring of some of these bus services, I'd appreciate it.
Indeed, and the resolution before you addresses that by saying that we will clearly keep that front and center in our considerations of any increases, both rail and on the bus side. I realize that it's nuanced to try to understand these different funding sources that provide funding for various parts, both in the capital side and in the operating side. I'm sure we'll do everything we can to try to reinforce the message and provide that clarity as much as possible.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Rick. We're in unusual times. What occurred last Tuesday, in some respects, was sort of deja vu all over again. Partisan politics provide for one party or another, yet mixed with the economy and other elements of just life in general, I think we have to be more nimble than ever before. Can you outline, let's say the board votes to proceed and with this resolution, this policy matter, and for some circumstances we cannot anticipate today, or that may occur nationally or locally, what are the contingency provisions or checks and balances that might allow for, if there was a change in federal commitment, or some other matter that is unanticipated, so that we could have some ability to say, we have a process to review and if you will, as you used the word earlier, recalibrate.
You know, of course, I don't consider myself a politician, but rather a builder. So I won't try to interpret anything that happened in the election. But what I can say is, of course, while the total project is $1.49 billion, and that's a large one, it doesn't all happen on day one. And so there is a structured schedule that matches up available funding sources to anticipated spending over time. Now, all the agreements that provide that funding, they're all nuanced, they're all a little bit different because of when they come in and what other conditions they're predicated on. But throughout the process, there's the availability of what I call off-ramps to basically wind up what we've been doing and make the best benefit out of it that we could. So while it's not something we study every possible timing and point of departure from the planned schedule, we know that they're there. And because we're keeping very carefully the resources and the costs aligned, we don't run the risk of having what we'd call being upside down in a mortgage situation.
And I know I've asked this question before, so it sounds repetitious, but I think it's for the board and for the public and our partners who are not in it on a 24-hour or 28-hour-a-day basis as you are. It gives us some understanding of our ability to nimbly react to the future. So thank you.
I just have one comment. I would just like to say thank you for the presentation and the clarity. And I also agree with the board member about we need to really get more information out to the public so that they understand exactly what this is, how it works, and the benefit to their community. So I would encourage that to occur. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Dan? Thanks very much for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
We're going to move on to public comment on this particular resolution. I'm going to reread it because I jumped the gun a few minutes ago. This is Resolution 10-1157, adopting an implementation statement for the Portland-Milwaukie Light Rail project. I'm going to call on Dan Zelko as the first presenter who wants to speak to this resolution.